evening, everyone. Oh, I hope that we find you on an excellent Sunday evening. Just gonna wait here a couple minutes for Hattie to pop on. Hopefully, your day has been going well. We have another cold, wintry, windy day here in Minnesota that none of us are talking about. My husband is so in denial. He was out gardening this afternoon. So, yeah. Hey, Sis!
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing okay.
Do you have lovely weather in Pennsylvania today?
Actually, you'll be happy. No, it's been raining here. It's been raining and in the 50s since Friday.
Oh, the 50s. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Okay, it's seriously gross. I know it's colder there, but it's gross. Like, it's not nice weather at all.
It's 32 with flurries today, so thanks.
Snow flurries. Okay, that's really awful. That is awful. But you know how like sometimes when it's cold and rainy, it actually feels worse than when it's like snowing?
No, I
Yes,
think that's I think you
You're
become an
just being a brat.
Easterner.
You do too.
No, that is true. For sure, if it's like a hard rain and if it's just like a flurry, then it's not that big of a deal. No, but it also is April 30th.
I know. Yeah. It is dangerously close to May and you are getting snow flurries, which is horrifying.
So it is horrifying.
I am sorry to hear that. That sucks. But at least we're not getting good weather, so at least you can like take that.
Yeah, you know what? You're not getting good weather, and so I'll take that. Absolutely take that. Absolutely. So, okay. Is it 7, 8?
It is. Yep.
Okay.
It is 8 o'clock. Yep.
Patty is our timekeeper because her phone has the time on it. Still, mine does not.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't get it, but it shows on mine, so I'll be the timekeeper.
Yep, it is what it is. So welcome to our Bibliotalk April number 2, but technically I think it's our 3rd one because we did second marches in April.
Oh yeah, I think we have actually done 3 technically in April, but yeah, whatever.
Slow.
No one's paying that.
Over here. March was Lent, and you know what? We're just gonna let March go. So
that's called life.
So welcome to our Bibliotalk. We are sisters. We talk about books and other random things,
apparently,
and weather a lot because we are Midwesterners.
Yes.
Even though Hattie lives in Pennsylvania, we talk about weather all the time because it can literally, you can't have 4 seasons in 1 week. Have you seen this meme? Minnesota says, hold my beer.
Yeah.
And we get it.
Yes.
4 seasons.
Yeah, it happens. It's reality. It is.
It is. So, what are we reading right now, sis? That's basically what we're doing. What have we finished? What are we reading? What are we looking forward to?
Yes. So I first off just want to say a couple of shout outs about a couple of great nonfiction that I have listened to / read in the last couple of weeks. And I put a little promo out like on Instagram a little while ago with a bunch of them, but I'm just gonna like do a quick 4-on-1 on each of on a couple of them, not all of them.
You said nonfiction. Do you mean nonfiction?
Yes, I mean nonfiction, right? Yes, I mean nonfiction.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay, keep going. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Right.
I know. Then I was like, oh crap, because sometimes I do like say the wrong one, but no, I did
the promo on the Victorian, so I thought that's what you meant.
I did do that one too, but I think the week before I did that one, I did one on a couple good nonfiction that I was reading, feminist nonfiction stuff. That was like super fantastic. So anyway,
very good. Okay, I apologize.
Before Hannah like gets me distracted again. This is one of the ones I picked up when I was with you, Hannah, when we did our tour of the bookshops. And this is called The Heroine with 1,001 Faces.
Right. And we just started it last time we talked.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. So I thought I wanted to do a follow-up on it. And I just finished it it like day before yesterday, just sometime this week. I finished it. It was really good. It was really good. It, you know, she goes into, she talks about mythology a lot. Like right at the beginning, it's a lot about like Greek and Roman mythology. So like that's really her focus. But like by about halfway through and towards the end, like her focus is really shifting from like those kind of like seminal mythological sort of ideas and ideals to really like a lot more modern stuff and like really modern stuff. I mean, she talks about the Me Too movement. I mean, she talks about lots of like the TV shows that are on right now. She talks about Wonder Woman, of course. And just a lot of like the comic book characters and stuff. Anyway, she does a really great job of actually sort of expanding the conversation from just sort of this Roman and Greek mythology and how that's really like influenced sort of like this canon of what we understand of as like heroine and hero and access that women have to tell their stories. That's a huge theme in here, which is how sort of like the movement comes into it and women having a voice to tell their stories. A lot of writers. She talks about a lot of writers, especially in the 1900s, the 20th century female writers. And I really appreciated also that she didn't, while the first part really was focused on sort of this like very Western ideals that come from the Roman and Greek mythological sort of ethos, she really expands into like Middle Eastern with Scheherazade, those tales, the 1001 Nights, right?
Okay, sure. I can know more about this.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Scheherazade is just like the main character who's telling the stories. She's the woman who tells the stories in 1001 Nights. So anyway, but and then also she brings in some different countries from Africa, their sort of mythology and so on and so forth. So she expands it. She starts in this sort of one place that's very sort of like Western ethos, mythology and Roman Greeks, and she really expands it towards the end, not just into modern stuff, but into, you know, a wider variety of mythologies. And I thought she did a great job. I don't think it would be for everyone. It wasn't like a super fast read or anything like that. Like I didn't blow through it, but everything was really well researched, really interesting. The ideas that she's bringing in, it's like, oh yeah, like, you know, just as you're going along. So if you're a person who's at all interested in like heroines, heroes, our ideology that really sort of like makes heroes what heroes are, makes heroines what heroines are, and how women's voices have come into the mainstream in this last century, half century to a century. I thought she did a great job. She's from Harvard, I think.
I think you did say that last time. Yeah.
She's a professor at Harvard, and she's got a bunch of other stuff too. But and I thought she did a great job.
Good.
And then the other one that I wanted to just briefly mention too was I actually have two more that I listened to. The Pirates one, which Hannah, actually, we got a couple of questions about the Pirates one. It's called Pirate Women. I listened to it, so I don't have the book, but it's called Pirate Women: The Princesses, Prostitutes, and Privateers Who Ruled the Seven Seas.
Okay.
And it's by Laura Sook Duncombe.
Okay.
And I listened to it. And again, it was, I loved it. I thought it was so much fun to listen to. It covers from sort of like the ancient world, you know, female women who were basically pirates. And she does sort of expand the idea of pirate, right? So it's not just like our really like kitschy, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean, that's an equals pirate. Like pirate kind of covers all sort of like law-breaking women who are like running their own lives and sort of, you know, not apologizing for it.
Love it.
And sort of like being in charge on, you know, ships or some sort of thing like that. So anyway, I love her expanded idea of what pirate looked like for women throughout the years. And then I have to tell you, because I told my husband about this. This is the funniest thing. So the whole last chapter is women pirates in cinema.
Oh, right.
So, but there haven't been a ton, okay? There have not been a ton. And I'm going to be interested, Hannah, to know if you've even seen this. It's a terrible movie, and she did a whole Cutthroat Island. Cutthroat Island. Yes, with Gina Davis. Okay, it's a terrible movie. It is on my shelf, and I watch it.
It's like such a B movie, though. Like when they made good B movies.
Yes, it might have been a C movie, but it doesn't matter.
I mean,
it was awesome.
Maybe. I don't know. I love Judge Dredd too, and Judge Dredd to me is like a solid B movie. That was the genre of good B movies, right?
I totally agree. But anyway, so there was this whole chapter on that, and so she did a whole bunch about Cutthroat Island, which was in the 90s, has Gina Davis in it. If you haven't seen it, like, I can't recommend it as like this amazing movie, but I can recommend it as like a really good watch. It's literally on my DVD shelf, and I watch it. So, I just love that she really goes from like this ancient world and like what they look like to this like really modern like idea of what pirates look like. And then of course she does Pirates of the Caribbean with Elizabeth Swann and her sort of evolution in the movies. But that was sort of the last chapter. So it was a fun one to listen to, and it was nonfiction, and it was a fun listen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Yeah. It was great. And then the last one I'm listening to right now, I'm almost finished with it. I told Hannah that I'm getting into my like Egypt phase. I visited Egypt this time of year about 10 years ago. And so like this time of year it starts like seeping in, and I love like reading and like digging back into the Egyptology stuff. And so this one is called The Woman Who Would Be King. The subtitle is Hatshepsut's Rise to Power in Ancient Egypt, and it's by Kara Cooney, and she reads it herself.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. She does a great job, and like I've read a couple different books on Hatshepsut, so I'm like very familiar with like the story and the archaeology of it and all that. So it's not like a bunch of new information coming at me, but I love the way she's telling Hatshepsut's story.
Okay.
It's not about people around her, right?
Right, it is her story.
Is her story, and of course it's Kara Cooney's sort of interpretation, because we don't have a ton of like primary source material. Like all we really have, of course, is the monuments and the inscriptions on monuments, and what survived 3,000 plus years.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
not usually a lot.
Yeah. It's very much her interpretation. But I love that as she's going along, she's telling you that. She's telling you, like, we could see it this way, or, we could understand her this way in this situation. It's like there are possibilities, but like this woman actually had her own story that was hers, and not just all the people around her.
Around,
Which sometimes gets on my nerves when I pick up a book about some female in history, and it's literally a book about the men around her. It annoys me, and it happens more often than I would like. So,
Well,
so that was my nonfiction stuff. So over to you, Hannah. What are you up to?
Continuing your nonfiction stuff, basically. Only because technically I read this, and it's like right in this exact same vein is I did read The Real Valkyrie, or I listened to it. So I did actually, and I enjoyed it. I will say, so Lainell, my husband, I was telling him about it. I'm like, I think you'll like it. We've been reading a lot of nonfiction. We both have been reading a lot of nonfiction, but you and I is who I meant by we, not me and Lainell. I meant you and I, just to be clear for everybody. Sorry. So so I was saying that I was reading this, and he's like, "Oh, that sounds really interesting. Are you done with it?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I am done with it." He's like, "How did you like it?" I'm like, "I liked it. I really liked it. It was really interesting, super fascinating. Listened to it. It was a good listen." This is what I'm going to say though: is I have no basis. Like, I have no historical context for the larger world that was happening. So she does such a great job of bringing in these other parts and these other realms and these other things that were happening, and these, like, it wasn't the Silk Road because I wasn't in the right era. I know that much, but that same sort of, like, trade stuff. And so I said, sometimes in those parts, I would kind of, like, drift because I don't have anything to, like, cling to. But that's my own ignorance, right? Which is also why I sometimes really like listening to nonfiction, because you can cling to the things that make sense. Yeah. And then you can kind of like absorb some of other stuff, but like you don't have to like plow through it. You just kind of like play along in the background. So really did like it. Highly recommend it. Good listen as well. I also finished this nonfiction, Rest is Resistance, by Tricia Hershey, the founder of the Nap Ministry, which I would just say as well for anybody, even if you're not a reader, if this isn't all intriguing when I talk about it, follow the Nap Ministry on Instagram or other social media platforms. They have a great, engaging Instagram page that I follow on my personal Instagram. And I've been following her for quite a while, long before I read her book. Yeah. And this whole Rest is Resistance has been in my orbit for a while, and I just hadn't had a reason to read it, to get it to the top of my TBR. And then we decided to read it for a retreat, a women's retreat I went on, and it is an incredibly accessible, really well-written, non-theological, if you're worried about that, because sometimes the things that I read are a little bit heavy that way. Very accessible read. It's not long at all. It's a really short little thing. She uses really great personal stories to talk about rest and how it is about us decolonizing ourselves from the patriarchy, from white supremacy, from capitalism, and really trying to work on our mindset, and that it is a journey, and you will be working on this for the rest of your life. Like, this stuff is so deeply ingrained, not only in us from our very early childhood, but from everything culturally around us, and so it's constant, kind of trying to be aware, and then falling off the bus and getting back on again. Yeah. So it was really, really, really well done. I'd highly recommend it to anybody.
Nice.
So
very good.
And if anybody's watching as well, we always do love to hear what you're reading. So put whatever you might be reading in the comments, and we'd be happy to take some recommendations or hear your thoughts on those. So the other book I finished, I'm just going to double check. Can you hear me okay? I'm getting a little bit of feedback, and I'm just double checking that you're fine.
I'm okay. I have noticed that your sound is not fantastic tonight, but I can hear you, and I haven't had any trouble like understanding what you were saying.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe I need to fix my speaker is being funny tonight. So I don't know that I can fix. I can't fix that right this minute.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say about fiction for a minute. We've been reading a ton of nonfiction.
Yeah.
And I've read some fiction, and I've liked it, but nothing has like. So good. It happened.
Until
April. Moon of the Crusted Snow by Wabashig Wright. Canadian, Indigenous, short. I actually listened to it. It is, how do I was, okay. I'm going to say this and then you're going to be like, okay, it is post-apocalyptic, but it's not going to be post. It is actually, and it is one of the slowest reads I've ever done that I'm like, oh my God, because I know something's happening, but you're just going through these days with this main character and his family, and like they're eating cereal and opening cans of corn, and like, but like it's so good. I mean, and it's only 200 pages. Like, I mean, it's and like you get into these one moments, these couple. I'm not gonna spoil it. So the world is. I mean, they tell you in the thing, the world has come to an end, and they're very far out on a reservation, and so their first inklings are like just things are going out. They go out all the time, so it's not like a big deal until it. And so like you're just kind of going through this life and like thinking about like what would you do and how would you react and like how does that, and it is so well done. I loved it. I loved every single page. It was so good, and it is a very like methodical write and read, but it it takes a while to something's happening, but you don't know what's happening. And it's so good. So I would definitely, it's highly recommend. And if you are if you're a mood reader like Hattie, wait until next winter, but put it on your shelf and do yourself a favor. And I mean, I don't know that you would like it because I know how you feel about post-apocalyptic literature,
Yeah.
but
you never know.
I think it's
at least, so
it's
it wouldn't be
really short. And I think you find it interesting, like, it's so human.
Yeah.
It's so humanized, and it's really not about the apocalypse.
The apocalypse, yeah. It's about the story. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the story.
Yeah.
And then just one more thing, because I'm reading The Cartographer because you told me to, because you said it was good, and I am enjoying it, and I'm in the middle of that, almost towards the and then this is the last one that I'm in the middle of still. Yeah. I just started Entangled Life, another nonfiction about mushrooms. How fungi make our world, change our mind, and shape our futures. And honestly, it's because it's by a guy named Merlin Sheldrake.
Of course.
And if there's a book by a dude named Merlin Sheldrake, it had to happen. But I'm really enjoying it. It's very good.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to it as well, actually. Again, happy to be doing that because I have no concept for mushrooms and spores and all sorts of things. But it is really very good too. So those are what I finished and what I'm in the middle of right now.
Okay. Very good. So right now I just finished Life of Pi. So this we read for my class. My students chose that book. And you can see I got like 1,000 little tags in it, of course. And we started, I have 2 sections of the class that I'm teaching. They both chose this book. And I have to say, Hannah, I am pleasantly surprised at how well they are doing at picking out the like important themes that also coincide with like the ideas and the theology that we've talked about in class. I'm like, okay, they're doing a great job. So they picked the right book. And it's a great story, and it goes to so many of the things that like in this class that I'm teaching that we're constantly sort of butting up against. You know, what's history? How does history get told? How's storytelling important? Why is mythology important? If it's not a true story, why are we talking about it? You know, just this. There's so many more things too. Those are just like off the top of my head things, but for their final exam, I'm making them do an oral exam, and I'm not giving them any prompts, and I'm not talking. So they basically all have to talk to each other on whatever source I tell them they have to talk about. So for this conversation, it's a dry run for them. So I told them, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to give you the ideas and the themes or the questions. You guys have to bring those to the conversation in class. And they're doing a great job. I have to say, I'm like very pleasantly surprised at how well they are doing at like bringing the ideas, making the associations with some of the other stuff we've read during the semester. And like coming up with these ideas on their own. Like I'm not, giving them little hints or dropping a little thing here or there. It's like they're doing a great job. So no complaints there. And of course it's a great story. So yeah, anybody who hasn't read it, you probably should. It's a good one. It's a good one.
Right.
And then the other one that I did just start it, Hannah. This is our book club book. Have you started it yet? Nope.
Okay. I haven't started tonight. I was hoping to get Cartographers done. I have not. I'm just letting it go because this is Thursday. So I gotta get
Thursday. Yeah. So this is called Stiff, The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers by Mary Roach. For anybody who's wondering, this is our book club book this month. And I talked to my mom about it about a week ago, and she loved it. She read it already a week ago, and she really loved it. And I'm this far. I started it yesterday.
Oh.
This is the beginning, and so I'm like 100 pages in. And it's like maybe 300 pages long.
Yeah.
It's like right at 300. So I'm a third of the way in like a day. So good, interesting stuff. I will say it is not for maybe the faint of heart. It was a little bit more, it just reminded me of my forensic anthropology class. More than anything else, like reading this just reminds me of like all the, like we read a couple different books similar to this in my forensic anthropology class in undergrad. And honestly, like that's what it reminds me of. Because she like went to the University of Tennessee where they actually have like it's a body farm there, where they actually just have cadavers that are decomposing so they can learn about them, right? Like learn about decomposition and so on and so forth. And she went there. But like, you know, so I knew about this. So it was sort of like fun reading about, you know, it's a bit morbid, I guess. But so anyway, that's what it reminds me of, is sort of the forensic anthropology class that I took. But it's a good read. It is a bit more like our friend Joanna, she's not gonna want to read it. No. No. It's more descriptive than anything I think she would want to read. That's what I'm gonna say. You know,
and
like,
you know what? Like, good for her for knowing herself too and opting out. And I think that is like so part of reading and like being kind to yourself and giving yourself the grace of like, no, I don't think so.
You're not gonna do that.
I'm good.
Yeah. So yeah, and I'm like a third of the way in, and I was already like, yeah, no, I'm glad that she decided not to read this one. She's in California visiting her family. She needs other stuff. She doesn't need to be hunkered down with this right now anyway. So, but I think you'll like it, Hannah. I do think you'll like it. And
I'm really looking forward to it.
Goes over in book club on Thursday.
Yeah. Well, and I posted about it because I just picked it up from content the other day. And like I got a couple messages from people who read other Mary Roach things as well, and listened to them and said that her audiobooks are also very, very good. So that's so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, I was just gonna try and get Cartographers finished this weekend.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
So no,
Sometimes
that's okay. Yeah. But that's literally all I have.
Okay.
I know.
Things that you were gonna tell me? Because you had a couple things that you did tell me those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
wanted to tell you about Moon of the Crusted Snow because I finally got like a fiction book that I loved this year.
I got you.
That wasn't a reread. Most of them have been rereads that I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to tell you about that. I did. I do take people. I mean, it tends to be Hattie's recommendations, but I read like a lot of your stuff, but I decided to pull Cartographers off the shelf. I did have it on my shelf for like a year and a half, just to be clear to everybody. It wasn't like I went and bought it because Hattie told me to.
But you did get Valkyrie because I told you to.
I did get Valkyrie because you told me to. It is fascinating to think about the idea that everything that we think we know, and this is actually what this ridiculously entangled life book about fungus is also doing to me.
Yeah.
This is basically, he's making the same argument as like that, how we can't even get outside of ourselves sometimes. Like you can't, this is going to sound really weird, but I read this chapter, it was about LSD. That's what it's called, LSD. Sorry, shut up. But talking about what LSD is made out of, which I can't pronounce, but the fungal thing.
It's a book about fungus, so yeah.
But what it does to the human brain is actually create different synapses so that you can actually experience and understand things outside of what you've always known. And I think the real Valkyrie is really that sort of a deconstruct, right? Of like what we assumed because of the way it had been studied and understood out of the Victorian age. And like, it's just not that way. Like, if you take away that perspective, if you take away that framework and look at it differently with different synapses, with a different lens, it's just and that was really fascinating. But you know, when you start to read too much, everything starts to like.
No, you're right. It totally does. Yeah, it all
overlap.
Yeah, but well, that was a funny thing too, because I read the Valkyrie, I listened to the Valkyrie one, and I, you know, and all of her stuff about that, and that sort of construction of what the Viking era looked like that came to us out of the Victorian age, and then it was so hilarious because I was listening to then the Pirate Women one,
right?
And she has a whole chapter on like the Viking women.
And
she's hilarious because she like contradicted like a ton of the stuff that the woman who wrote the real Valkyrie was sort of arguing for in terms of women and their roles in the Viking age. So that also sort of like goes to your point, right? Is that like we have information, but the interpretation of that information is not always the same, and the same information can be interpreted in different ways.
Correct. Right. And I don't, And I think that when we think about history particularly, and some of these kinds of like these things that we take almost for granted and we have assumed for so long, just breaking the mold, whether it's true or not, I mean, this is, I could get in trouble for this for some people, but like whether it's true or not, remembering that we don't actually know is like so important. It's actually really right? Like that we have the information, but that how that information is interpreted and transferred and reimagined in our modern thinking, like we just have to be a little bit freer with those constructs than we sometimes want to be. There's this whole thing in this, again, fungi, because that's now our Sheldrake says fungi. But about LSD, and like they have done some new research stuff on these things, but like how it creates a mystical experience for people, and how that mystical experience, even for like people who came in who were deep atheists and strong agnostics, the experience itself actually breaks that for them. And even though they know it's a chemical shift in their brain, it is so meaningful and powerful that it makes them actually believe in a larger being, some sort of divinity, right? Like, you know, and yet that's like its own fascinating. I had to like highlight that. I was like, I gotta go find that, because I just find that fascinating though too, right? Like you know, it's chemical. You know,
but it's still an experience, right?
Yeah.
You still experienced it.
Yeah.
Regardless.
And he talked about humans experience.
Yeah.
Brains don't experience.
Yeah.
Your brain chemicals change, but humans have experiences, not brains. So anyway.
It changes things. It changes people. Experience changes people.
Change our minds and shape our futures. Fungi.
Mushrooms, people. Mushrooms. I love it.
We're not promoting that.
No, we're not promoting. That's a good point. Thanks, Anna. Yeah,
considering I couldn't remember what the initials were for LSD.
Anna couldn't even remember LSD, so clearly, like, we're not into that. But we are into reading about fungus, apparently. That's great. No, that sounds super interesting, Anna, for sure.
It is really interesting. It really is fascinating. Yeah. So, and like understanding the way that life works and like how much fungus there is in this world, it does break those boxes that you think you know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
that was good. It's so good for us to do that. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so helpful. I love it. Okay, but we are at 8:30, Hannah. Just FYI.
Great. So I do want to say, we actually had a really good week this week. We might be the slowest growing page on Instagram, but after 2 years, we have over 200 followers. So thank you for that.
Thank you. All of our followers, all 200 plus of you.
200 plus. And so later this week, we are going to be doing kind of like a celebration of that and giveaway, but so more to come on that. So be paying attention. If you haven't followed us yet on Instagram, particularly, or Facebook, please do so. I am not done.
Oh, someone's getting yelled at.
When the timer goes off, use music when I go outside.
Great. I will do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Love you too, sweetie.
Love you guys. They're fun. They're fine. Oh yeah.
It's fun. It's so fun.
It's so fun. I just wanted to say though, keep an eye out tomorrow. There's going to be a book war battle update posted.
Yes. That was the other thing. Thank you for reminding me, because I was going to forget with that little interruption, as much as I love them. Directions are hard.
They are. When you're 8, they are, Hannah.
They are.
Yeah.
It is fair. That's fair. So yes, tomorrow we're going to have an update on our battle. Later this week, we're going to have a opportunity for a drawing in celebration of our 200 plus followers. Sorry. We only laugh because it's like, seriously, we're so slow and so bad at this, but we enjoy.
But we have fun. So we don't
care. That's all that matters. So thank you. And again, if you haven't, we did just put out a spring newsletter. So if you would like to join our newsletter list, you can go to www.thebookwar.com and it'll pop right up for you to subscribe to that, and you can get our spring newsletter about some of the things that we're loving to read right now in 2023. And otherwise, thank you so much for your time, and we hope you have a really great one, and we'll be back in probably a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Liz. Night.